Sami Hamdi, who's the Managing Director of the International Interest, and he joins us now live from London. Sami, good to see you. Now, a visit by Mohammed bin Salman to Qatar was unthinkable years ago. Just how important is this?
I think it's important not necessarily just because he's visiting Qatar, but also because it's part of this international rehabilitation that we're seeing of Mohammed bin Salman. 5 days ago, French President Emmanuel Macron arrived in Riyadh with pomp and applause. Mohammed bin Salman then met Sultan Haytham of Oman, and they announced lucrative investment deals between them. And now he's going to Qatar, essentially asserting the return of Saudi Arabia as this major power in the region, that bin Salman is no longer considered a pariah, that now he's back in the scene both internationally and regionally. And the Qataris are welcoming this because it's important to remember that in 2018, Hamad bin Jassim, the former Qatari Prime Minister, gave an interview to France 24 in which he stated that bin Salman was being badly advised. And in other words, that the blame for the blockade was not on Saudi Arabia, but rather on the UAE that was influencing him. And this is why Qatar, as soon as Mohammed bin Salman opened the door to reconciliation, they seized it with both hands, and they've been keen ever since to develop their ties with Riyadh, because they believe that that is how they can insulate themselves from more malicious powers that they believe, such as the UAE. And this is why this visit by Mohammed bin Salman to Doha is beneficial for both parties. They are both celebrating this. Bin Salman needs investment for his Vision 2030. Al Jazeera and Qatari media ruined his first bid for the Newcastle takeover. And when he reconciled with them and the Qatari media began to rather tone down its criticism of Mohammed bin Salman believes that made the Newcastle bid possible. And now he has this PR platform to really revamp his image internationally. Bin Salman believes that this visit to Qatar now is a valuable ally. The truce is there. Qatar is holding up its side of the truce.
All right, let's broaden this out, Sami.
Unfolding before us.
Let's broaden this out because there's been so much diplomatic activity in the Gulf. How are the shifts, the tectonic? I mean, I assume this is really causing big shifts to happen in the Middle East and the Gulf. There's been such a flurry of diplomatic activity lately.
I think it's important to look at the region both from Riyadh's eyes and from Doha's eyes. From Riyadh, there is no longer that existential threat that the Arab Spring and the Muslim Brotherhood represented. Riyadh believed that the Arab Spring, that Al Jazeera and the Qatari media were really covering and pushing. Saudi Arabia believed that Qatar was the main reason that was driving that instability, and therefore they reacted by helping Sisi come to power via a military coup, by plunging Libya into civil war, by promoting Qais Said's suspension of the constitution. But this time, when you look at the region, you can see that the Arab Spring has turned into an Arab winter. So bin Salman no longer sees a threat to the monarchies in the region in the manner that he and other members of the royal family felt in 2011. Qatar, meanwhile, can see that it's no longer the primary influence in Washington. It's no longer the primary influence in Paris. The UAE dominates the lobbying networks in the EU and in Washington. The UAE continues to have good ties with Biden, and that's why the Qataris are sort of looking at this region and saying that we tried on the Arab Spring, we were once very influential, but now we really need to revise how we approach this particular region. And it's in this context where bin Salman feels isolated internationally, but no longer feels the existential threat. And Qatar believes that its influence has waned in the Western world, in which it used to rely on in order to contain its neighbors and the like. And Qatar believes that now this is an opportunity to come up with this truce, to try to reconcile with Saudi Arabia, to try to bring about some sort of peace, as Saudi Arabia believes as well, and also to mediate between Turkey and Saudi Arabia as the issues begin to wind down in the region. And this is why when we look at this reconciliation, it's important to stress that it's a good thing if you believe that the status quo before the Arab Spring was a good thing. But it is a negative thing if we look at the reasons behind the reconciliation, which is that in reality, it is that after this decade in which there was this popular struggle for genuine change in the region, the parties that supported the change are seeing themselves defeated. The parties that don't want the change and actively fought against that popular desire are seemingly winning. At least they believe that in the countries that the Arab Spring took place, things have turned against the popular will and autocracy.
We've run out of time. It is fascinating, as always, to listen to you, and the way you break down what is such a complicated area is wonderful. Thank you so much, Sami Hamdi. Appreciate it.